Part of awakening is the process of remembering and connecting to what you actually are. Now, even if you're asleep and you do not remember what you are, what is, meaning you still are that. But as you start to awaken, you're going to start to notice certain signs, of which we're going to go over in this video, that you are awaking more and more fully and coming into contact with what you are and also remembering what that is. And so in this video, I'm going to be giving you 10 signs that you are more fully awake, you're waking up, you're connecting to that true essence of who and what you are. So that's coming up next. So before we jump into it, my name is Dave and this is HeartSpace, where I am creating videos every single day to help you along your heart path. And for me, that just means helping you from wherever you are right now to where you want to be, living that fulfilled, exciting, just high conscious life, and helping you bridge the gap from here to there through these videos, the courses I do, coaching I do, and other things I do, all really are aimed at fulfilling that. So please also get my free course, which is going to help you invite miracles into your life. You can get that down below. That's actually going to help you start really experiencing a lot of the signs we're going over in this video. You can get that for free down below. Anyway, without further ado, since this is probably going to be a pretty decently long video, let's jump right into it in reverse order, starting with number 10. Now, number 10 is a very simple one, and it's you are drawn to videos such as this that talk about things like awakening, that talk about things like connecting to what you truly are, talk about doing the inner work, teach you to do the inner work, etc., etc. I would call this more like high conscious content, right? And this doesn't just have to be in video format. This can be books. This could be, things you're doing online, like different posts. This could be in-person events. This could be coaching. This could be a program. Like, it's just these things that are operating at a higher level of consciousness for which you want to learn from. And if you're more and more drawn to those things, you're consuming these things, you're acting upon these things, which is an important component of the whole process, it really is a sign you're waking up more and more, because people who are asleep don't see the value in things like that, right? People who are asleep want the next shiny object, or they want the thing they think is going to be instantly gratuitous or have instant gratification attached to it, right? It's why a lot of people suffer. But when you wake up, you kind of understand the value of doing the inner work first. You're drawn to more of the stuff that is on the wavelength you're currently operating at, or the wavelength you want to operate at. So you'll be drawn to these different things, and it's a huge sign that you are waking up. Number 9 is old things that you used to enjoy, or maybe convinced yourself that you used to enjoy, because a lot of us do that. They now feel heavy. And this could be, certain activities. Like, for example, in my early 20s, I used to go to bars quite a bit. Not that much, to be honest, but at least every weekend I'd go with some friends and different things like this. And there were certainly other activities that I would do that as I started waking up, I realized I don't like these things and they're not aligned, and it's like a 1 or 2 out of 10 for me to do these things now. And so if old things that maybe you once enjoyed no longer align with you because you're raising your consciousness, it's a huge sign you're waking up more and more. Because for me, doing things like going to the bar or the club or things like that is actually a pretty low conscious activity for the most part, and it's something that's not aligned. And to the point, like, if I did that now, I would probably just be there and feel so incredibly uncomfortable because it's such a misalignment. I would feel a ton of heaviness. And so if you're feeling heaviness towards older activities, maybe even people, different things, environments that maybe you would have once enjoyed, it's a huge sign that you're starting to grow and wake up and transform, and those things do not fulfill you anymore. Those things do not enrich you. Your soul wants something different. For example, I would much rather spend time in nature than go to a bar or read a good book or talk to someone about spiritual concepts and really, really dig deep into that. That's something I would enjoy infinitely more than some of the things I used to do in, say, my early 20s. In fact, in the comments, if it resonates, put in there, I am releasing the old and allowing in the light. And that is something that really helps you connect to what it is you truly are. Releasing the old kind of static resistance, the old heaviness, which then allows the light to fully come in and really connect you more to what you are. So if that resonates, put that down below in the comments. Now, number 8 is something I kind of mentioned for myself, but you're really drawn to nature. And the reason you would be drawn to nature the more awake you become is because you feel a part of it because you are. Nature is just natural. It just is the process kind of perfectly unfolding without really any resistance. There's no real resistance, like artificial or manufactured resistance when it comes to nature outside of ourselves, to be fair, because we add a lot of different resistance, and that shows up and manifests in ways we can see is not really helpful to ourselves and to the collective. But if you're drawn to being more in nature, living more in nature, going into nature, nature vibrates at a very high level of consciousness, as you can probably imagine. If you've ever been stressed and then gone on a hike or just been in nature or just listened to nature sounds, you've probably found yourself actually alleviating a lot of that stress, allowing in those really good vibrations and energy from nature and feeling a lot better, because nature naturally vibrates at a very divine, high consciousness. And when you are really waking up and starting to vibrate higher yourself, you're going to be drawn to that. It's very hard for me, for example, to live anywhere that doesn't have a lot of nature around it. You might even hear the bug noises that are going on around me right now because I live in nature. In fact, maybe that's being picked up, but you can hear those bug noises, maybe the bird noises. I don't know if the microphone's picking them up, and they're very loud. Like, my windows and doors are closed and they're still getting through, and I absolutely love it. And sometimes I'll just kind of sit there and kind of observe it and listen to it, and it's just incredible. And it's really hard for me not to be in places that are very natural now, because I'm just drawn to that so powerfully. And I really do believe the more you wake up, the more you realize how connected you are to that and want to be around that which you are more and more. Number 7 is you are noticing more signs and indications and synchronicities in your daily life. And this is a huge sign that you're waking up, because this stuff's always going on. The universe is always communicating. Everything is always happening in divine timing. It isn't about whether or not that's happening. It's whether or not we're listening and being able to perceive these things because we're awake enough to do so. People who are asleep, they don't experience angel numbers. They don't experience the synchronicities that you may even observe are happening in their life, but they miss or dismiss because they're taught to think a certain way, and they're not awake to these things yet. They're not awake to what they actually are. But when you're more awake to what you actually are, you see the perfection in everything. You see the divinity in everything in the process, and you start noticing the signs, the indications, and the synchronicities much more. I can't remember a day going by in recent memory where I haven't noticed some form of powerful synchronicity, whether it's angel numbers, whether it's things coming together perfectly, whether it's the perfect synchronicity that led to a lesson that influenced my life in a massive way and helped me. I can't remember the last day when I haven't noticed that. And that is because my awareness is heightened and I'm able to see these things very easily and recognize them for what they are. So if you're noticing that as well, it is a huge sign you've been waking up. And in fact, if you don't have, or if you haven't been waking up, you wouldn't have that level of awareness to notice these things that are always occurring as well. If you're enjoying this video so far, or it's resonating with you so far, please hit the like button. And now I believe we're on to number 6. Now, number 6 is you are not hooked into mainstream thinking, especially the news. People who are asleep and aren't thinking for themselves are usually hooked into other people's agendas very easily. My mentor likes to say you get hooked in, and it's very true. You have like the news casting out a line, actually multiple different lines. You have other people's opinions kind of being cast out there, other people's projections, and a lot of people just go whoop, whoop. They're being pulled in multiple directions, and it's just going like this with no thoughts or discernment of their own. But when you wake up, you start to have a level of discernment that usually comes from a soul-based or heart-based place, and you don't trust appearances, you trust the intuition, you trust your heart, you trust what your soul is telling you towards something. And in my eyes, 99% of news is usually calibrated at a low consciousness to put people in fear or get people to be divided and, divide and conquer, that whole thing. And so a lot of times, most of the time, your soul and your heart is not going to be drawn to being hooked into the news. It's usually coming from a conditioned fear or a conditioned wanting to look good, so I got to be on this side or I'll be seen as a bad person in other people's eyes, right? But when you wake up, you kind of see through this illusion and you use your own discernment when it comes to these things. Usually when people are waking up, they stop watching the news entirely because they see it for the theater that it actually is. Number 5 is you have a deeper sense of peace and calm, and you're able to connect to these things very often because you understand that, again, everything is the process. Everything is actually perfect. And yes, that can sound crazy when you're not woken up, but it is, and you understand that everything is okay. We're here for a reason. Everything unfolds in divine timing and in perfect order for a reason. It isn't that, life is trying to beat us up or do X, Y, or Z. Yes, it tries to get our attention on something that maybe needs to be looked at, but ultimately everything is okay. Everything is perfect. And when you're more aware and more awake, you start to realize this more and more, which gives you a sense of peace and calm. It removes your stress and worry, which are not constructive in any way whatsoever. And it allows you to really be in that peaceful state more often. And you'll find that when you're in that peaceful, calm state, that state of everything's going to be okay, not placing all this importance and craziness and all these external things needing to happen one way or another, you'll start to notice your life shifts vastly, and you start to invite more things on that wavelength into your life. Number 4 is you want to give back and help people, but in a real way. There are a lot of people who are aiming to help others, but it's, the main reason they're doing it is for either validation or to make themselves feel better about themselves, to fill up their own cup, so to speak. There are a lot of people walking around with empty cups trying to help other people in order to fill their own cup. But in my eyes, helping someone in a real way is filling your own cup first, internally, energetically, coming from a place of knowing what you are, having these awarenesses, and because your cup is so full and spilling over, it makes it easy to start giving to others in a real way where you're actually filling their cup. When you have an empty cup, you can't fill anyone else's cup up, right? It's like saying, you know what, I want this person to be healthy, so I'm gonna get sick so this person can have my health. That's not how it works. You can be incredibly healthy while also someone else being incredibly healthy. You can be shining your light immensely, and that is going to help way more people than you being like, I'm going to dim my light so someone else can have my light. That's not how light works. That's never how it works, and you're not going to help too many people in a real way. You might get validation and people on the surface being like, oh, this is so amazing, yada, yada, yada. But if you really peel back the layers of it, you'll see not much impact is going on. But when you shine your light fully, because you have taken care of yourself in an inner way, I'm not talking about being selfish and taking advantage of people, that actually would drain your cup. That wouldn't actually be helpful. Remember, we are divine, infinite, co-creative beings. And when we tune into that, do you really think you're going to be a taker, a manipulator, or something like that? The only people that end up that way are those who are not connected to what they actually are, who do not understand where they come from and what they actually are. You would never, ever do those things in any intentional way ever if you knew what you were, and if you connected, more importantly, connected to that place. And so if you feel that call to help people in a real way because you've helped yourself in a real way, that's a very real thing that starts happening when you increase your awareness and consciousness. In fact, I've heard many teachers say, and I feel this myself, and I know I've had beings of much higher consciousness help me out, and I've seen them do it to others. When you start to get to a certain level of consciousness, it feels very natural to come back and help others because you realize that other person is you, that we are all connected, we are all one, we are all in this together. And we want to invite other people to really realize some of the things that we've come to realize or experience, to help people experience what they truly are. And when you start to realize that, and when you've become aware of that, again, you've filled up that cup, you've become aware of it, a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people will feel compelled to give back and help others fill that cup for themselves as well, to help others discover what it is they truly are in ethical ways, and not a forcing kind of way, but in a shining their light kind of way that draws people in naturally. Number 3 is you are living much more intentionally, or you're working on this. For some people, after you've worked on this enough and you've been really trying to live intentionally, it just becomes second nature and it becomes quite easy. And for some of you as well, it might be you're kind of wrestling with this, but you're getting up every day, you're doing the inner work, you understand a lot of this, and you're just in that part of the process. Remember, the acorn is no better or worse than the oak tree. They're just in different levels of the process. A first grader is no better or worse than a fifth grader. It would be silly to yell at a first grader and be like, why aren't you a fifth grader, right? No, it's no better or worse. Like, why aren't you 15? Why are you 8? It's like, because that's where they are in the process. And a lot of times I think in our own spiritual development, we beat ourselves up for being the 8-year-old in our spiritual development instead of the 15-year-old or 25-year-old, again, relatively speaking. But that's just where you are. It doesn't mean better or worse. But this sign is you are living much more intentionally. You are aiming to do that, and you are doing much more of the inner work. And when you start doing the inner work, you start connecting to that which you actually are, which helps wake you up, which means you're also woken up because you understand the value of doing the inner work versus putting all the emphasis on the external. Now, there's nothing wrong with enjoying the external. You are a also physical being. You are in a physical body for a reason, and you understand most likely when you wake up that, a lot of people when they get into spirituality, like, I'm going to just completely neglect and forget about the physical. It's all about the spiritual. It's like, yeah, but you're in a physical body for a reason. The universe doesn't make mistakes. It's not redundant. It didn't put you in a body to punish you. You chose to come into this body. Your soul did. And you are a 3-part being of spirit, mind, and body. It's not that you can't enjoy these things, is that most people, again, just put too much emphasis on the body and mind when the foundation is the spirit. But that doesn't mean to neglect those things. Anyway, I'm getting a little off track. But anyway, the third sign is you are living way more intentionally, and you are doing that inner work much more. And you're drawn to doing it more, and you want to do it more. Number 2 is a big one, and this one's one that's way more uncomfortable, and it's you're willing to face your demons. And essentially this means you're willing to do the shadow work, because you do realize that you are actually divine, infinite, co-creative being, but through your human experience, you may have picked up some things that are in your mind, kind of stuck in your mind or stuck in your body. And you are more than willing to do the shadow work in order to allow those things to go through a natural process of release so that you can allow more of what you actually are in to come in. Resistance is what prevents what we are from flowing in. And when you have stuck energy in the body, you have old patterns in the body that are not natural and have no need to really be there except to kind of point to you, hey, look, I'm here. You have this unresolved thing you need to look at. Instead of avoiding it, you understand, okay, I'm going to have to go through a little bit of pain here. And yes, it might be a bit tricky, but I know that I am bigger than it. Actually, it's not even close. You are vast and infinite. You are connected to all that is. And when you tune into that, nothing can really survive that light. It becomes a part of the light. But so many of us have pushed so many things down and not allowed them to be seen, which means not allowed them to be exposed to the light and then therefore become a part of that. And when you start to become more awake, you realize the importance of doing the shadow work. Now, there's a lot of different shadow work you can do. There's certain meditations. There's plant medicine. There's many ways to go about this. For myself, I'll be doing plant medicine this year to go through this process myself. But there's one thing actually in the thing I mentioned earlier in this video, getting my free course, there is a deliberate meditation that's about releasing and kind of doing this work from a shadow work perspective that I give you in that. So again, download that down below if you haven't already, and it's going to help you in this area. But you will be drawn to doing this because, again, a lot of times we are holding on to things that prevent us from growing and experiencing what it is we actually are and awaking further and further to the truth. And number 1 is you are growth centric. This is something I think is a misinterpretation of spirituality, especially in the modern era, and I'm sure it was going on in previous generations as well. But I think we have this idea that spirituality is just like kind of going inward and just kind of being there and just being like this on the couch and just like, oh, bliss and everything comes in. But again, you are in a physical body for a reason. Now, again, if you want to be a monk or someone like that who literally spends most of their day in meditation, therefore accessing the inner world most of the time, then that's something you can absolutely do. But if you would want to participate in the physical world, you have to accept that you are a physical being and that this is a growth-centric experience that we're here to have and that you will continually be experiencing in the physical world as well. But to reject that or to think like, in order for me to grow, I just need to sit and do nothing is, I think, a fool's errand when it comes down to it. What ends up happening, again, if you want balance in this life, you want to enjoy your experience of what you are and who you are here right now. Yes, the foundation is certainly the spiritual in my eyes, the soul, but that will lead you to physical actions. That will lead you to growing. That will lead you to experiencing different things. That will lead you to discovering more of what you are. but kind of neglecting any area of what you are, again, mind, body, and spirit, is not going to really help you grow. But if you are someone who is growth-centric, understanding that you need to commit to certain things, that you are willing to invest in yourself and your growth, you are putting your time and energy into your growth, then it is a huge sign that you're waking up more and more. You know, for myself, I've spent like tens of thousands of dollars, for example, on coaches and mentors who are aligned and resonate at a certain level of frequency to help accelerate that process of being growth-centric and accelerate my process of transformation. And it's been worth it every single time, because I understand that where I invest my time, money, and energy is where my growth is going to be. And I want to continually experience more and more of what I am. I want to continually experience more of what this life has to offer. And that's what a growth-centric experience is. Also understanding that there is going to be pain, like the shadow work, that there is going to be certain bends in the river, as my mentor likes to say. But learning how to embrace that, learning how to embrace the process, growing into that is such, in my eyes, an important part of being here on the planet right now. If you are someone who resonates with this sign in particular, I would like to invite you to a Facebook group I just created that's all about lasting transformation. So many people are confused on how lasting transformation actually occurs, and so we're going to be getting out of the mindset of like the shiny object syndrome and, oh, I just need to do X, Y, and Z and read a few books and boom, I'm transformed. I'm going to be teaching how you can actually go through the full process of transformation relatively quickly by tapping into universal principles and laws and things of that nature. So if you've made it this far in the video and that resonates with you and you are truly invested and committed to lasting transformation, you can check that out in the description. Again, I'll just have a link for you, and it's called the Elite Transformation Experience. So you'll see a link with that name in it. Anyway, again, if this sign in particular resonates with you, I would go check that out. Now, when you are more awake, you might find that you are living more purposefully, and a life purpose is more presenting itself to you, or you start living in a way that's coming more from life purpose. Now, if you want to learn some signs that indicate you are living your life purpose, I would check out this video next, where I give you 5 signs that you are living your life purpose and you're going down the right path. And you can see if you resonate with these things and you are moving in the direction of your heart path instead of doing things from your head.